the shop.
He is. He hasn't been here for...
Killing me.
Name you simply.
Ready?
Small.
Call the meeting to order. For those who care to, please rise for an opening prayer and salute our flag. Mr. Mendez, please lead us in a word of prayer, sir.
Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather tonight. We ask that you watch over us and lead and guide us through this meeting, Lord. It's in your Son's precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. We've got a couple of announcements, appointments, and things tonight. But, do I have Captain Tim King, Engineer Garrett Annan, and Firefighter Nick Mercer here? You guys step forward if you would, please. Chief, make sure you get good pictures this time, as opposed to the last pictures.
Charlie took the last.
Okay, well, that's good.
No,
No, sir. I would let you know, on the evening of December 20th, 2015, Engine 1 responded to a medical assist on 100 block of East Elm Street for a report of an unconscious female with CPR in progress. After arriving on the scene with Cox Ambulance, fire personnel relieved family members of the patient and took over CPR. Engineer Annan began chest compressions, Firefighter Mercer began ventilations, and Captain King gathered information from the family members about events leading up to the episode. The automated external defibrillator pads were attached to the patient with shock, and a shock was delivered. Fire department staff continued CPR and ventilations while the patient was being loaded onto the cot and into the ambulance. Firefighter Mercer rode in the ambulance and continued CPR for the trip to the hospital. We'd like to thank those lifesaver awards for these young gentlemen right here, and we want to certainly thank you all and appreciate all the work that you do, and I would like everybody to give them a round of applause. Oh, wait a minute. You want to do these nice? Nick? Hold that.
One step there.
Almost get out of the way. Please.
We all got trade places here.
Donut. That's the police department. You got the wrong guy.
They like donuts too.
Before you guys leave, I got one more story. Nick, this involves you.
Sterling's in the door.
Sterling, now come in the door. Come on in, Sterling. So Nick and Sterling, about a month later, what'd you do?
We assisted in delivering a baby.
And a healthy little girl, right?
Little boy.
Little boy.
It's a 50-50 shot.
And you, and you failed. Hold on. Baby boy. Healthy baby boy, right? Congratulations. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We do have two promotions in the fire department as well. Tonight is promotion night for Firefighter Garrett Annan. Pinning the badge is Steve Annan, and Steve is a retired Springfield firefighter. As a side note, Garrett currently serves in the Army Reserves as Sergeant of the 348th Engineered Company 1st Squad, 3rd Platoon, drives and oversees a bomb route clearance vehicles that sweeps the roadside for bombs. So let me grab that.
Just stay over here, you're okay.
Been too long.
I was there.
There.
You push until it says ouch.
No, we thought about that.
Mr. Annigan. Next is firefighter Orion Stedden. Pinning Orion's badge tonight is wife Suzanne, along with Jackson, 3 years old, and Caitlin, 2 years old. Orion served multiple duties of tour in the Air Force as an aircrew member, joint airdrop rigger, and then loadmaster instructor. Orion flew more than 100 tactical airlift missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I hear you pushed Humvees out of the back.
Sometimes.
Very nice. Very nice.
It's not very good on the front end.
Congratulations to the 2 new engineers. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Anything else, Chief, that I can do for you? You have a cold, Chief. What's the deal? Yeah. Thank you very much. Will everybody?
Steak and Fruit Loops with her. Yeah, I don't have any mints or anything. A little Fruit Loops. She could have shared. Did you get this? How'd the band go? Did it do good?
Sure. Just a couple more mayor's announcements. Connie Muller's birthday is March 31st, so make sure you get time to harass Connie this week. Must be Thursday. Also Thursday night at 6 p.m. in the Battlefield City Hall is the Greene County Mayor's Association meeting. And that should be a very interesting meeting with all the mayors having a conversation over many topics, including the jail. That'd be interesting. Oh, and Mr. Keeling has one other announcement today.
Certainly, and we will talk about this later in the agenda, but OTC, we're trying to do a council workshop the week of April 25th. We'll get a couple dates from OTC and work backwards, but they'll be in the early evening time the week of April 25th, a chance for all council to get together and ask OTC questions about the potential education center being proposed here in Republic. I'll get with you on the date.
All right, thank you, sir. No public hearings tonight. Move on to citizen participation. Anyone wishing to speak to anything not on the agenda, please come forward, state your name, sign in on the sheet, and give us your best 3 minutes.
okay if I sign this after I...
Yes, you can sign it before him. Just make sure the pen works. If it doesn't, Mr. Harder will loan you his. If you want to take it with you, you can.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll give you 2 extra minutes if you take it.
My name is Patricia Schumann. I'm married and I have 2 grown children, and I've lived in Republic for 25 years at the address 424 East Harrison Street. I come to you before you tonight to ask that City Council see that the Police Department enforces the current ordinance on peace disturbance in my neighborhood. We've been calling the police numerous times due to the loud beating music that rattles my home from the property just east of my home out my back door. The property is either owned or leased by Destiny Church. I've been dealing with this issue for a couple of years, not starting with the police department, but it has come to that. I started asking the church officials to please turn the music down, that it was too loud, but the response from the beginning was, "It's not that loud." This has been an ongoing issue until finally I did call the police, but to no avail. The situation is still ongoing. The police department has always responded to my calls for assistance, but no citations have been issued to my knowledge. I've filled out paperwork, I've sent in reports, but I'm not sure why the peace disturbance ordinance is not being enforced by the city. The ordinance does not exclude churches, businesses, or citizens. If I played my music out of my home and disturbed my neighbor, I'm sure I would receive a ticket. But for some unknown reason, this is not happening. As I mentioned, I and my neighbors have talked to the church members on several occasions. But the fact is, they have made some improvements, but on several occasions, I still have to call the police again and again, due to the beating, rumbling, and voices coming out of the church. Last week, it was 9 p.m. before the music stopped. Last Wednesday at 4:30, after I returned from work, I noticed about 40 people in the church parking lot having some sort of a party, which is fine. However, they were playing music that could be heard all over the neighborhood. It was either coming out of an automobile or, from what I understand, off the back of an ATV that had speakers mounted to it. This rap music went on for about 20 minutes, and finally I had had enough. So I called 911 and asked to have the ordinance upheld and a citation issued. The police officer did respond, but he told me he could not issue the citation because he had been told not to. I am a tax-paying citizen. I pay for the street I live on and for police and fire services. I'm not sure why I continually have to deal with this issue and why the ordinance is not being enforced. The church is probably tax exempt, yet they're being allowed to do what they want when they want. They have no respect for me, the police officers, or my neighbors. They originally wouldn't even respond to me until I got the police department involved. I and my neighbors have been trying to work with the church officials and are going through mediation right now. However, even during mediation, the music continues. I've been over to the church one particular evening where I was told, "You and about 4 other of your neighbors are the only ones complaining. Besides, we are a church." I'm not sure who's telling who not to issue tickets when the peace disturbance ordinance is very clear. It does not exclude them, myself, or businesses. So I would like to know why that's not being done. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I'm Eugene Mitchell. I live 431 East Harrison. And we've been putting up with this for a long time. We went to mediations here a month ago, and I told the preacher all he had to do was just turn the low end down, And he said, we've turned it down, oh, we're gonna turn it down. We ain't turned it down no more. Sunday night, I was at Church of Christ down the street. You know where Church of Christ is down there on Harrison. And I was talking to one of the other members there at the church about this, and the preacher was standing there listening. And he said, what are you talking about? And I said, I'm talking about that church across the street from me. And he said, is that boom, boom, boom what you're talking about? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I heard that Sunday morning when I was unlocking the church doors. That far away. And there's another thing. One of your councilmen is one that's playing the drums, and I think he needs to be excluded from the hearings on this issue because he's a conflict of interest, and if he was a good councilman for me, he would take care of the problem. And I think, I hate to keep calling the police over there. They're parking on both sides of the street, in the street. The other night, Wednesday night, they couldn't, there for a while, everyone else could get down the street. And I'm not exaggerating. And when the police got there, they had to weasel their way down the street. And it needs to come to a halt. They park in front of the fire plug, in front of no parking signs, and they're just doing whatever they want to do. I asked for you to do something.
I'm Mike Allred. I live at 607 East Harrison. I'm not quite the speaker Patricia is, but I've spoke to Mrs. Poole with Mr. Isles at the church about a year and a half ago, and it still hadn't changed. I've been talking to Jason for the last couple of months. The thumping, from the parking in my yard to assaulting my wife, it's got to stop some way.
My name is Donna Allred. Some of the things that you've heard tonight are just from what some of the neighbors have heard. This has been going on for years, different things. It started from the backpack program that they had, when people were walking through our yard, when they was pushing baby strollers through our yard, parking in our driveway, and a gentleman coming into my yard telling me that they could do this and shoved me in my own yard. We had to put up a fence because they were parking in my yard. I pay taxes, and I do my part. I sit in my house. I mind my own business. They're 150 feet away from me, and I can sit in my chair, and I hear thump, 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 thump. And my TV's up 40. It could be setting the volume on 42, and I can still hear it. I want to know. We call the police. That is horrible that I have to call the police and have them fill out a paper to try to make them stop when the police have other things to do that are more important. But I can't seem to find anybody that will help resolve this. Somebody take responsibility, please.
I want to concur with the gentleman that just talked. I'm not as eloquent a speaker as Patricia is, but...
What's your name and address? I just want to make sure.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. My name's Mike Arnett. I live at 422 East Harrison, and I'm here about the noise that we have. I was a road musician for 12 years. I've been in the music business for a long time. I've played clubs across the United States, I've played fairs, I've played a lot of music for a long time. This can be controlled. I'd like to, if you would, call your attention to statute of the city ordinances, 215.260. It's called peace disturbance, and it reads as follows. A person commits the offense of peace disturbance if he or she unreasonably and knowingly disturbs or alarms another person or persons by a loud noise. It's word for word right there. It's not like we're asking to move the world 3 degrees to the left. We just want a peaceful neighborhood. I go to bed early, I get up early. I haul gas for a living, and I go to bed sometimes at 8 o'clock, and like I said, it goes till 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, they shut her down. But till 9 o'clock, you're going to hear that boom, boom, boom. I've got a box fan beside my bed that blows on me. They're louder than it. Those things are ancient. But all we're asking is to enforce the city code and the ordinance that's in place. We're not asking for any special treatment, and like they've said before, it doesn't exclude them in any shape, form, or fashion. We're all tax-paying citizens, and we're all registered voters, too. And all we're asking is our rights be observed as much as theirs. I've never seen a church act in this manner and hide behind the name of being a church and be so resistant of being peaceful and resolving something and considerate with other people's rights as well as theirs. They want their rights, we want ours. There's a happy medium. It's just the low end of the sound. It's the boom. It's the bass. They're pushing no telling how many watts. I can't imagine what it sounds like inside. It's got to be blasting their ears. I bet you holler at one of them, they can't hear you. But it needs to stop, because I keep looking out my back door at 9 o'clock expecting to see a couple of the rap stars leaving on Jesus bus going back to heaven. And it's ridiculous. We shouldn't have to put up with that. We're not asking anything special at all. We just want the code that you all have put in place enforced. That's all we ask. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to anything not on the agenda, please come forward, state your name, sign, and give us your best 3 minutes. As a point of order, I just want to make sure, I appreciate Patricia, Eugene, Mike, Donna, and Mike coming forward. Kind of to tell you exactly how it works with the city council, there's no decisions that are made from city council. This is actually a police matter and will be handled as such. If anything does come before city council for discussion, it will then be up to the council members that are involved in this to recuse themselves. We have had that happen before. That is not an issue. So just want to give you that heads up. So let you know what the process is currently and where it will end up. It is a police matter now. It will remain so until anything has to come before city council. Now, I know what you're asking. We know what you're talking about. We've had internal discussion. There is mediation that will continue through the end of the month, which is Thursday. And then let us figure out what happens after mediation. That process is ongoing currently through the month of March. From what I understand, what you're saying is that the mediation may or may not have taken hold on either side. We don't know. We'll let the mediation work itself out, and then we'll get, our chief has been working with the mediators to see exactly what the next step is.
Can we ask something?
I haven't been called.
We haven't been called about another meeting.
I want to make sure.
No, it's not, I'm sorry. The mediation goes through the end of the month, which means after that, you guys have a time frame of mediation, right, through March? So when March ends, then I'm sure there'll be a meeting beyond that to see exactly where everyone's at. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mike, Donna?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I thought I missed the callers.
No. No, you did not, Mike. Appreciate it. I just want to let you know that's the process. So, anything else? I appreciate your time. You have time to speak. There's a time for citizens to speak, and then there'll be a time for council to speak on that issue. Council does not have anything on the agenda tonight to speak to. I just wanted you to understand that, and it is a police matter. Until something comes before council for them to make a decision, that's where it will stay. So I just want to give you that heads up. That's how the process works. Anything else, anyone wishing to speak to anything else not on the agenda, please step forward, state your name, sign in, give us your best 3 minutes. Seeing none, since the participation closed, I do appreciate those who have exercised their right tonight, and appreciate you honoring the 3 minutes. We certainly appreciate that. Time can get away from the city council, so I certainly appreciate that. With that said, on to the next item. Would like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? A motion carries. On the financial report. Welcome, Mr. O'Donnell. Please give us an overview of financial report, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This will be brief. As always, with the second meeting of the month, we're talking about sales taxes, and I've already alluded to this in our previous meeting, whereas, and I trust everyone has received this month's report on sales tax collections. At the risk of repeating myself, our city sales tax was a healthy $241,347 for February, nearly 50% higher than February of 15. We're 29% higher early in the year versus last year. Fire tax, same thing, $30,151, 50% higher than February of last year, and approximately 28% higher year to date. And for motor fuel tax, February $30,311, which is just slightly a little bit less than this month last year, and we are just breaking even year to date. And with that, that is all my remarks for this evening. Questions, comments?
Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. O'Donnell? Anything at all?
I will just make one more quick comment that, because that was brought up at the last meeting. Every quarter, we do get a report from the Department of Revenue that shows us who paid how much and when over the previous quarter, so I'm hoping to be able to take a look into that and see why we are having such generosity from the Department of Revenue. So, more to come.
Thank you. Must be your impeccable personality, John.
If you say so.
Questions, comments, discussion from Mr. O'Donnell? Seeing none, need a motion to approve financial report?
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. On to report from staff. Mr. Keeley, anything, sir?
I just want to note the Republic Community Foundation Annual Banquet is next Tuesday. If you all are welcome to attend. They do a lot of really good things there. They recognize the work of our local non-for-profits. They recognize volunteers in our community, and they hand out about $10,000 worth of grants. So you're more than welcome to attend Republic High School, 6 o'clock next Tuesday.
Is that 4/11 or 4/12?
4/12, I'm sorry.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
Oh, sorry, thank you, April 12th, yeah.
You got corrected by the attorney who's not good at math.
April 12th.
Went to law school.
April 12th, my apologies.
April 12th. That's an excellent banquet to attend, and I encourage everyone to attend that. Mr. Derrickson, anything from staff, sir?
No, sir.
All right. On to future committee events. You sure you don't want to delegate this out?
No, it's good, I like doing this, actually.
Okay.
Future community events for the remainder of March on into April. March 29th, 31st, April 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th is Arthritis Foundation Exercise Program. We host that program at 1:30 p.m. at the Republic Community Center. March the 30th through May the 4th, Senior Wii Bowl. Once again, we hold that at the Community Center, and just contact the Community Center for more details. This coming Thursday, March 31st, is Senior Movie Day. It's at 3 p.m. The movie will be Pawn Sacrifice. April 1st through 22nd is Todd Academy. We hold it at 9:30 or 10:45 a.m. That's for ages 2 to 5. April 4th is the Republic Aquatic Center program registration. We open all of our registration for the RAC that day. This includes facility rentals, season passes, swim lessons, exercise program, everything you can imagine that's happening down at the RAC. April 4th, 11th, 18th, and 25th, these are Mondays, is Toddler Open Gym at 9 a.m. That's for ages 0 to 5. April 13th through the May 18th is Toddler Tumbling. We hold classes at 5:30 or 6:30, and once again, that is for ages 2 to 5. April 18th and 19th is National Park Weekend. During that weekend, there will be no entrance fees to Wilsons Creek National Battlefield. On April 22nd is our Season 3 opening night at the AMP. Excited about the AMP this year. That evening, the festivities will begin at 6:30. The Republic Branch Library will be out there. Dickinson Park Zoo will be out there. And the movie begins at 7:45, and the movie is The Lion King. If for season details for everything we're doing at the AMP, you can go to theamprepublic.com. April 28th is Senior Movie Day for April. That's at 3 p.m., and the movie will be The Martian.
Very nice, thank you very much. On to board, commissions, and committee schedules. Board of Adjustments, April 7th. Capital Improvements, April 27th. City Council meetings, April 11th and April 25th. Planning and Zoning, April 18th. On to old business and table items. I'd like to have a motion to have the second reading of Bill number 16-07.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending Chapter 100, Republic City Code, General Provisions, Article 3, Penalty, Section 100.220, General Penalty, by adding language to conform to restrictions on fines for minor traffic violations, and providing the option for administrative hearings for certain violations of the code.
I'd like to have a motion to have final passage of Bill number 16-07.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Derrickson, give us the overview, sir.
Yes, sir. As you'll recall, this is, stated last meeting, this is to kind of clean up our penalty ordinance to bring it in line with Senate Bill 5 that was passed last year. And we've been observing the limits placed on fines for minor traffic violations since that went into effect August 28th. But this just brings our ordinance in line with that, and also has a provision in there that if it's amended again this year, which there is a new Senate bill adjusting the fine schedule again before the Senate had one reading, got an email today, they're getting ready to have possibly a second reading on that, or a second hearing on that, so it's still percolating out there and may actually change what we've been doing by reducing the fine. The second part of this is Chapter 430 of our ordinances provides a procedure for administrative hearings, and there are some violations of city ordinances that could be handled by issuing a ticket or as an alternative doing an administrative hearing, and so we've added that provision in there, the paragraph 3, to, in the appropriate cases, have a choice between either issuing a ticket or doing an administrative hearing.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Derrickson? Anything at all? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Harrelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Poole?
Aye.
Councilmember Mendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Clinkenberry?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. On to the next item. I'd like to have a motion to have the second reading of Bill number 16-08.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending Chapter 225 of the Municipal Code of Ordinances by repealing Article 1, Handicapped Grievance Procedure, and enacting a new Article 1, Request for Disability Accommodation in lieu thereof, to revise the procedures for filing a request for reasonable accommodation.
I'd like to have a motion for final passage of Bill number 16-08.
Motion. Second.
Motion and second. Welcome, Mr. Kendall. Give us the overview, sir.
Thank you, sir. You might recall from this last meeting that this ordinance would replace Section 225 that was rather outdated and vague, and replaces it instead with more defined procedures for an individual to come forward and make a request or put forth a concern that they might feel that they've been discriminated against for reasons of having a disability. This procedure is designed to promote an open and frank conversation between that person and the city in hopes of having local resolution of that issue, and also promotes that person to be able to find that solution here rather than seeking federal assistance for their complaint.
Thank you. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Kendall?
Appreciate your work on it.
Thank you, sir.
There's a lot of work involved in it.
When was that meeting when we first started looking at that?
It was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Appreciate it, though.
Thank you very much.
Anything else, council, for Mr. Kendall? Seeing none, roll call vote. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Clinkenbeard,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder,
Aye.
Councilmember Mendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Poole,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrelson,
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. On other business, resolution number 16-R-30, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the execution of an equipment rental agreement with Murphy Tractor and Equipment Company. Would like to have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
I have a motion, and a second. Welcome, Mr. Bryant. Give us the overview, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. We operate 3 backhoes. We own 2, and we rent the third from Murphy Tractor, have done so since 2011. Existing rental agreement for the John Deere rental expired at the first of the month. When that agreement was entered into, we thought a new model year would be available at this time, but that won't be available until June. So we have a 3-month rental agreement here, bridge the gap, get us through June, and we would propose to bring back another rental agreement that would cover a full year with a new piece of equipment.
Fair enough. Questions, comments, discussion from Mr. Bryant? Anything at all? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item, resolution number 16-R-31, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending resolution number 15-R-46, adopted on July 13, 2015, to provide additional detail as to a non-binding engagement letter with Stiefel Nicholas and Company for preliminary underwriting services. Would like to have a motion.
Motion.
Second?
Motion is second. Welcome, Mr. O'Donnell. Please give us an overview, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. As council will recall, 15R46 authorized the city administrator to engage to enter into an engagement letter with Stiefel Nicholas and Company to provide underwriting services and other advice relating to projects involving public building facilities and related infrastructure. Well, now we're 8 months down the road, and the landscape has changed slightly such that this resolution will amend and specify what those projects are all about. As the exhibit talks about, specifically with the construction of a city hall and a construction of a public building to house educational classes provided by Ozarks Technical Community College and associated public infrastructure. I also want to introduce and welcome Mr. Carl Ramey, Managing Director, Stiefel Nicholas and Company, who has journeyed here from St. Louis to join us tonight and provide additional overview and answer any questions relating to this resolution or general financing questions regarding the project. So I'm going to ask Carl to step up here. All yours.
Good evening.
Good evening, Carl.
Thank you. I think John really reviewed the reasons why, the amendment tonight is valuable. As we were in July of last year, we were a little, at that point, a little fuzzy, and so having better clarification is important at this stage. And particularly as you begin to look at City Hall, as you begin to overlay the issues of, Ozark Technical Community College opportunities. We've had real experience with that type of project in another community, and so hopefully we can bring but it is my pleasure, and for some of you, it's my pleasure to be working with you again. I think I've done the last 3 bond issues for you, and we're really, on behalf of Steeple, we're very pleased and proud to have the opportunity to work with you. So, if you have any questions as you go along through the night, I'll be here. And I guess with that, I'll sit down. I think I did my 3 minutes.
Yeah, you're good. Questions, comments, discussion from Mr. O'Donnell, Mr. Rainey? Anything at all? Is it hard being a Blues fan, getting along with a Blackhawk fan? I'm just asking.
Well, the redeeming, and now, please don't fire me. But the redeeming grace in all of this is, we're both Chicago Cub fans.
No. Oh, you're fired.
Oh,
man.
No.
Hold on.
Oh, did John not tell you?
It slipped my mind, I'm sorry.
You were fine with the Blues Blackhawk question with that one. Any further pertinent questions or discussion between you? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? A motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, the next item on the agenda, resolution number 16-R-32, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, selecting a site for a proposed new city hall. I'd like to have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and second. Mr. Killian, give us the overview, sir.
Sure, as you may recall, Brent Stevenson, H Design Group, and Brent's here tonight too to ask any, if you have any questions of him. Presented the feasibility study to you last meeting in regards to the 4 possible sites for the City Hall. He presented his findings. In addition, we provided you with information as far as the Capital Improvements Committee vote. We've been in this building since roughly 1993. This is the site of an old bank, Commerce Bank, I believe. Sometime towards the start of last year, middle of last year, we decided to go down the process of looking into the feasibility of perhaps constructing, building a new city hall. So that brings the discussion to where we're at tonight.
And council, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to mention the same thing you're going to mention.
No, go ahead.
Ron Derrickson has provided in your packet. Ron, can you want to give me a basic summary of what it is?
Yeah, well, I was just kind of curious one day when I didn't have a whole lot to do, and thought I would go out and see where the locations of city halls are in some of the surrounding communities, and I think there's 11 or 12 of them here, and what it looks like, and this is by no means scientific, is that those cities that have the older facilities are located generally in the downtown area. As you get to cities where they have constructed new facilities, you find them not being as centrally located. The 2 that were the least centrally located were Marshfield and Camdenton. Now Marshfield, I don't know why they located kind of to the south of their growth area, on the south edge of town. Camdenton may have just been because of the terrain. Camdenton's kind of long and drawn out, and City Hall was at one end. And then others were in various locations that looked like they may be a newer facility, but just weren't quite located in the central location. Just informational. There's no, as I say, nothing scientific about what's marked there, but it gives you an idea of where the other communities have city halls located.
Council, will be up to you tonight to decide how it will work, which you can discuss any site option you want. You can discuss it. There will be a time where somebody will need to make a motion on which site to accept, and the discussion can go from there. So, with that said,
You indicated we could speak about an item that was on the agenda. We can't.
not on the agenda, anything not on the agenda is citizen participation.
Okay, this is on the agenda. Is this the time to come forward or not?
I don't know, hold on. Did you have him fill out a card?
I'll go, I can grab one real quick.
Grab one. Typically what we do is that anybody wants to talk about an item that is on the agenda, they contact Brenda first. Brenda has them fill out a card. and then we allow that speaker to speak at the beginning, and then council has a discussion. Not knowing, you probably didn't know the process,
Probably not.
and that's okay. And that's okay, Brenda will get you that card, and we'll just hold on until we get that finished. That'd be all right?
Fine.
All right, thank you. The council further, as he's working on that card, the information that you have in front of you, there's a lot of information there. The process started a long time ago. Didn't it, Gail? Long time ago. We've had this discussion for a long time. However, the process worked. You discussed how you want to discuss it, and then if you make a motion, that motion can be made. If the second's taken, the second's taken. If the second's not taken within a certain amount of time, then that motion drops. Votes will be taken as we have motions and seconds.
Are we gonna wait for him?
Yes, we are going to wait. Mr. Boatwright, I didn't even recognize you. Please come forward, sir.
That's funny.
It's not your first time, Mr. Boatwright, former Mayor Boatwright. Please, sir.
I just came to talk about the new City Hall.
Yes.
Fantastic getting out of this building. I was here when we bought it, and it was the Security State Bank before it was Commerce Bank. That was Leroy Woods' office, which I think is yours now?
Here?
Yeah?
Yes.
I'm in a closet in the back, sir.
Actually, that was the mayor's office. When
Was it?
I became mayor, I moved over in that little hall over there and put the city administrator there. But what I'm calling about, I won't take any more of your time. When we got Frisco Square started, building the police station, that was always the plan 18 years ago, to put City Hall out there to make that the government complex. And I just think that that's something we need to stick with. Instead of buying land, we've already got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, council. Mr. Finkenbeer, go ahead, sir. Lead us on.
The leading choice, the recommended choice by the H Design folks was the Oakwood property. If we set in motion tonight of that being our place, we don't own that one. So it might be good to know if we go that route. You know, we have like a 90-day window. Obviously, that means we probably need to purchase property. Does that mean that we buy the property and hold it and we don't necessarily build right away? Or, I mean, if we're committing to an entire run immediately with the choice tonight, wouldn't financials and all the rest of it be, you know, how we're going to do it, be part of this discussion?
Certainly, and then John can speak to the financials along with perhaps Carl. If the ultimate decision of this council is tonight is to proceed with Oakwood, we are in the position of, and John can speak to it, of we have the reserve funds that we could potentially purchase that land, and we might be able to potentially back reimburse it through the financing. But I think John can speak to that.
I couldn't have said it better myself, but that's the general thought. And Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, with respect to a certificate of participation, city could be reimbursed for the land purchase?
Yes.
Okay. So, and assuming that, let us say we go through with Oakwood and we purchase it within our 90 days, which brings us to May 24th from the original date of contract, I would anticipate the COP would be done by year-end 2016 such that the monies would be reimbursed within the same fiscal year. So the city is still made whole.
Okay. So if we make that choice tonight, where does that decision stop? I mean, is it, all we're doing is saying we like that spot, so then you gotta come back next time of authorizing purchase of that property, and then you gotta come back again to decide whether we're actually gonna build a city hall there or immediately, or hold it for future placement of the city hall? Where does that decision, you know, what we say tonight, where does it stop?
Yeah, I think those are all really fair questions. I mean, financially, we are in a position where we could just pay for it out of reserves and just let it sit. We got 100% could do that. It depends on city council and how aggressive they want to pursue this project proceeding. I mean, it's totally up to you of how soon you want to make it happen.
But tonight's decision isn't that timeline, it's just where to put it.
That's correct.
I was just making sure that So we know that people aren't thinking we're making a decision tonight to buy a new city hall or to do other types of things. It's just the location pick.
Correct. Just for council, right before I get to Mr. Wilson, Mr. Boatright brought up a good point. It's not the first time we've been down this path with City Hall, so hopefully the future will be the last time. With this particular point, it's not the first time. Mr. Wilson, go ahead, sir.
Well, to start with, I would like to know whether we can afford to go through with this and build a city hall. Can we make the payments to pay it?
I think with the growth that has been going on, and also getting we had some preliminary numbers in the beginning when you were discussing this with the previous city administrator, we had come up with a scenario where at a cost of $5 million over a 20-year note, and I believe it was 4%, we were looking at an annual payment of approximately $367,000 or $30,000 per month. Now, looking at debt to be retired in the next few years, and you see those debt outstanding schedules every month that I provide in the financial report, we do have some debts that will be going away in the next few years. It's not going to equal that, but it will take some of the burden off of there. To that point, right now, my crystal ball is saying that it is feasible to do that. We do have reserves, and I think we can make those payments down the road. Again, we have been blessed with the fact that we do have the reserves available, but obviously financing is the way to go because otherwise we're tapping out our reserves. So I would be in favor of doing this.
What's our reserve currently, just for Mr. Wilson's sake and the council's?
That is part of that.
Give me a guess. I know you.
I'd have to look back on the report. Right now, it's out of my head, but I can get that right back to you. But usually, you have that in your monthly financial reports. But I can get that for you in a few minutes while the council discusses.
Mr. Wilson, answer your question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions? Go ahead. Ms. Poole, go ahead.
I am concerned about spending taxpayers' money to buy property when we already own property. We own enough property to build a city hall, and then you've said down the line we'd have to buy more property. What makes us think that we're going to have to buy more property? And if we've got money to build and buy property in another location, then why don't you go ahead and buy it and get it over with and do it where we proposed many years ago, like Mr. Boatright said. It makes sense to me, and I'm sure it would. I've talked to 10 people, and 7 of the 10 thinks it should be in Frisco Square. I have, of course, you know I've had the argument that the citizens should have some input of some sort. And I know I sound like I'm talking at barrel tonight because I've got a sore throat. But anyway, I think we ought to use our common sense and think about putting it out by the police station, because just for the fact of having all of our offices in the same location. And then I have another question. If we're going to leave the public works down here, are they going to have this property, or will this be sold? Do you know that yet?
We have not worked that piece of it. We do know that Public Works
will stay down here.
Yes, and as far as what we do with this and what their needs will be in the future.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, their needs in the future, Ms. Poole, you bring up a great point. Their needs in the future may grow as the city grows. We're already growing, and we've outgrown this facility. We've outgrown all the facilities except this one. We've outgrown this, and this is the only one we haven't done anything with. We outgrew our parks, we expanded. We outgrew our police, we expanded. We outgrew our fire.
I don't have a problem with expanding, but I do have a problem with spending taxpayers' money when Larry Liscum gave us the property, how long ago, Doug? About 18 years. That Larry Liscum gave us the property out where the police station is.
Yeah, it was part of the civic complex, like 5
Yes.
acres or something for the police station and the city hall and whatever other future uses we may have. Developed out really well. We expected this land was really
Between the Oakwood site and the Frisco site, when you look at those, there's roughly $1 million difference in the cost between the two sites. How much land, what's the difference in the size of property and potential for future growth? Let's say we look 30 years down the road and
We won't be here.
well,
So it really doesn't matter.
when you look at what makes where our options are. I really couldn't get that from the document as far as, when you look at how much land, what's our options for building out, acquiring more land. I know the high school has some options, the high school site, but what's the difference in size there?
You're talking about expandability. Now, Brent, his question is, what's the expandability option at Frisco Square? Is that what the question is, Mr. Mendez?
Yes. Well, I'll start with the acreage of each site, and that's on the overall map. The largest site is the Oakwood site at 6.2 acres. The high school site's 5.9 acres. The Frisco site's 2.5, and then the downtown site's 1.
What's the Frisco?
2.5, ma'am?
3.5?
2.5.
2.5.
So it's less than half of what Oakwood is.
Yes. And if you look at looking at just the site layouts, the Oakwood site has scored much better on the expandability because of the larger site, obviously. The Frisco site scored very poorly just on the expandability because of that fact.
Well, there's property out there that could be purchased.
There is additional property.
And
yes, ma'am.
But then you're
To
spending your
me,
taxpayer dollars
it's
again.
foolish to take people all the way up to Oakwood when we're closer, actually. And I know that we're looking at Oakwood, thinking of Brookline. Well, what is there? How many people live in Brookline that's going to use the city hall? Maybe.
Yeah, and
Well, there's about 400 people out there that,
Yes, ma'am.
about 100 of them vote. So
The number one criteria that was voted on early was demographics. And I think it's important to look at the definition of what demographics was. It was selecting a site that is more centrally located to the demographic center of Republic and/or located in future anticipated strong development areas. So not only did it score high because of its location in the geographic center of Republic, but also more importantly for the anticipated growth in businesses in that area. It has stronger growth potential just based on the studies than the Frisco site.
So the part of the thinking there that Springfield and Republic are going to kind of slowly creep together and you're going to start seeing more residential population?
Honestly, it's not. It's more trending than what we hired a third-party demographic analysis. So a 50-page report, and they did studies on incomes and where houses are being built and businesses are and all of that stuff. And what they have determined scientifically is that area of Oakwood, there's a site here exhibit here that shows the anticipated growth area of Republic being stronger in that area and filling in between Brookline and Republic. Yes, sir. So it's looking at the geographic, but also the.
I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate all your work, but I still say that we as a council are to at least have some consideration of what the citizens would like to have.
Absolutely.
And I know that what Larry Liscum had intentions, he put all of the infrastructure in for us, the water, sewer, and stuff like that. And I think it's a slap in his face if we take it somewhere else.
Ms. Harrelson.
Just to that end of asking what the citizens want, I asked
probably about 25 people from all the different wards, just people I know, and I didn't give them numbers, I gave them sites. And
That's what I done.
I asked them what their preference was, and nobody picked Frisco. Not at, no.
Well, it's probably
No,
because they
let me
don't know where
finish.
it's at.
Exactly, and because nobody goes that way. Oakwood, and actually the high school got a couple votes. Downtown got none. But Oakwood overwhelmingly for convenience. And that was about 25 people, and then I showed them the numbers, because that was in our booklet. And first question was, well, how are we going to put something there with the road being so small? I said, well, yeah, the road's going to be expanded. But once I showed them the numbers, even then, they thought that rather than driving, basically, in most people's words, to Billings to do their city business, they could do it on the way in and out of town. And so, you know, I have to kind of lean towards what 25 different people from all the different wards, you know, and it was a good selection from different wards, and without numbers, they still picked Oakwood.
Mr. Clickenbeard.
To back up Kathy here, when I came to the council in 2011, we were still working on the old ward map. And when the 2010 census came out, Kathy and I probably had almost double the number of homes that some of the other wards were, and they had to take ours and put them into 2 other wards. So I think I disagree with I know that may have been an old Brookline area, and I think of Brookline as being out toward Brookline Park, and that's not a very populated area at the moment. But if you go east out Hines and east of that area, there's a tremendous amount of growth. I mean, another subdivision's about Liberty Place, I think, has got several builds going on there, and it's almost finished now. But I can see, and I came up with the same thing when I talked to the people around the subdivision, and when you're out and about or at a meal or something, someone comes up and says hi, you say, hey, we're looking into this. Oakwood, by hands down, is for convenience, is their number 1 choice. And I didn't talk money or numbers. They all asked, you know, is it going to be doable? And I said, well, we'll have to see. But I can see why that would be a demographic center now.
I spoke to a couple residents as well, and I got some mixed results. Some liked the Oakwood, some thought it made sense to be at the Frisco Trail or Frisco area because the police station's out there. But there were several questions about what is our intent for this downtown area. You know, where do we see this going? Is this going to be something that we want to restore as part of the history of the Republic? Is it something that we want to abandon? I mean, what is our plans there? And were any considerations given to that, you know, long term? I understand doing the demographic study and all the different pieces that we've done, they seem to make a lot of sense when I read the report. But have we thought about our history? Have we thought anything about, you know, about that piece? Has anybody got any thoughts on that?
I'll answer your question, yes. We've had discussion on what can't go in downtown. If you looked at the properties, and Gail probably knows off the top of her head, how many businesses are actually in downtown, how many empty buildings we have, probably not too many, maybe 1. I think it's being looked at maybe 2, 3. If you really stop and think about it, the city may be the biggest detriment to downtown growth.
Yeah.
We have
That's
3
what we
buildings
hear all the
here,
time.
1 across
Yeah.
the street.
And we
down
close
the
at 5.
Yeah, so, to answer your question, yes, we've discussed downtown several different times in several different manners, including a committee that we looked at, how do we revitalize downtown? And really, we may be part of the problem, but yes, that was part of the consideration as we looked at it. And that's why we included the downtown site as one of our key choices. Ms. Poole, go ahead.
The argument is that it'd be on the way to work and on the way back. Are we going to change our hours? People go to work about 7 o'clock. We open at 8, and then they come home at 5, and we're closed. So they're going to have to go someplace at a time that we're open, whether it's Frisco Square, whether it's downtown, or whether it's Oakwood. So I don't think that argument would hold water. And honestly, I think we're jumping at this too fast. I think we ought to have more time to talk to people and get some more input on it. So I personally would like to see it tabled until at least next meeting.
It'd be up to you to make that motion, Ms. Poole.
One consideration on that is we're on a clock for that particular property. And now that people
What'd you
know
say,
that
Jeff?
we are on a clock on that Oakwood, if Oakwood would be the choice, we had a 90-day window that we put a hold on it. Once that's up, and now that people know we might want it,
But
price
when we
can
put
change.
5,000 or whatever we put down on it, just hold it, we had, in your mind, had already decided that Oakwood would be the right spot without us discussing it.
No, that's not accurate in my, I
Well,
can't
that's
speak
the-
for me on that.
Okay, that's the way
Maybe
it
for
seems.
someone else,
Let
no.
me say, that's the way it seems, okay?
What is
I
our
can understand.
timeline on that place?
We have 90 days from February 24th. I mean,
John just said May 24th. Thank you.
And that involves having the right contracts to purchase and all that kind of stuff too.
Ms. Harrelson, go ahead.
So, our city water payments, would they still be made at City Hall, wherever City Hall is?
You're
That's
correct.
kind of where I was getting at, where the convenience factor.
Right.
Secondly, we could table this for another 20 years. We've been putting this off for as long as I can remember. I don't know, where do we usually take our, people coming in to look at the city businesses? Where do we take them to meet? Do they meet here?
all over the board, but usually here, planning and development, correct?
So,
And if we schedule meetings, typically if it's a large meeting, we either at the fire station number 1 or we're at the community center. I know Greene County Mayor Association meeting, we've met in both places. We have not met down here.
I went and asked people because I wanted to know what the feel was, what people were thinking. And it wasn't just all young people, all older people. It was a good mix. And the idea, everybody was excited about the idea that we would have something new. The city's growing. It's growing very fast. I mean, faster than I think any of us even thought about 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago. And it's growing in a different direction than we even thought about 20 years ago. So, it is a huge decision. It really is. But we could wait on this forever, or we can just get something done.
There's a perception out there when we bring in people for economic development, or the biggest thing for me is new residents that come to town. The first thing that they talk to me about or kind of joke about is when they come to sign up for their water and they come here. It doesn't fit the city after they've been to the community center and, police, fire, everything else is in good shape. And that's probably right, because those are things that serve the public a lot, but so does City Hall. It brings in new business, it serves the citizens, and I hate to say it's a joke or a laughing stock or anything, because there's the history here, but it's old. I mean, let's face it, handicapped individuals, can't come in here properly. There's a lot of complaints about this being our city hall, and there's a lot of people out there that are happy it's going somewhere else, that this might be turned into a real downtown opportunity.
Let me just say a couple of things too. Make sure everybody kind of knows the process that we've been through. We have invested in other buildings, $4.4 million in the aquatic center. We've invested in the fire departments. We've invested in every building that we own. And we have left City Hall as the last one. And to that resort, when we do change, it is time to upgrade wherever we put it. We need to upgrade our facilities and make them more accessible, make them more marketable, and allow us to be able to have some space as well in the buildings. However, as far as what that looks like, what it should look like, that's to be determined at a future date. We have put off City Hall for years.
That is true. I
And
agree
it's-
100%.
And the other thing too is, Ms. Poole, to your point, one thing that we've had conversation on, and the financial piece of it is that
Financially now, we're in the best shape I think we've ever been. It really is the best financial shape we've ever been, as far as dollars in, as far as incoming, as far as reserves. Go ahead, Mr. O'Donnell, you can finish that statement there.
Happy to. Quoting back to the February financial reports that you all received last meeting, unrestricted cash balances, including reserves, just as for instance, for all funds, for February 2016, we're at $9,025,058. This time last year, we were at $7,668,648. Of that $9 million, reserve balances are at $3,529,795. We have money.
Yeah. And it's, for us anyway, it's time to take and invest in other things that we have invested in everything but City Hall. And to your point, Ms. Poole, it's up to you if you want to make that motion. It'd be totally up to you. I want to get back to that point because you didn't get to finish
The
your
reason I would do that is because 2 weeks has not given me as much time as I would like to have. I have not even, to be honest, driven out and looked at the Oakwood property because I have not had a chance. And there's just some things that I would like to re-look over in my thinking. I don't want to be the stick in the mud, but I would like to have the opportunity to have more time, so I would make that motion that we table it until the April 25th meeting.
Okay. I have a motion on the table to table this item till April 25th meeting. Do I have a second on Ms. Poole's motion? Anybody wish to second?
And I'd like to see a full council here too.
I understand that too. Any seconds? My apologies, Ms. Poole, that motion has died.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for the Oakwood location.
I have a question, and I can, before we make any decisions, I have a question to the cash situation that you said. You said we're...
Go ahead.
Is
No,
this
Mr.
a good
Mendez
time?
first, and then
Yeah,
Mr. Harder
yeah, I'm
second.
just starting
And then I'll
to-
give it to
well,
Mr.
you-
Finkenbeard. I had you guys' hand raised, I went around the table. Go ahead, Mr. Mendez.
So, you'd mentioned that as far as fiscal health, we're in really good shape.
Yes,
And
we are.
you had talked about the $3 million of reserves that we have. Your gut feeling, I mean, that's a good place for us to be. I mean, that's a good place for the city to be, to have that kind of financial health. What is your gut, where do you think this endeavor is going to take us? Are we going to divert course a little bit? Are we going to go backwards a little bit? I know we're talking about financing the money, but let's just, your gut feeling and what you know of the numbers, are we going to still be able to progress in our fiscal health like this? Because that's really important to me.
You'll permit me if I take a little extra time.
Sure,
I
absolutely.
want to get it right the first time. But I am bullish on the City of Republic. This city has continued to grow, both financially and in other ways as well, and I feel that we will continue to do so, no matter what events take place and affect the markets on a global basis. We are strong here, and our track record shows that. And with the advice of an old friend and an experienced one in Stiefel Nicholas, I think we should be able to reach our goals and meet those challenges. Again, we have over $21 million in city debt that we are paying off without any issues. Granted, yes, another $5 million, that is significant, but that is, again, over 20 years, using our hypothetical here, and I believe that is doable.
All right. Thank you for the forethought.
Thank you.
Mr. Harder.
And a couple things, Marshall Deckers also supports that, correct? Is that what?
I believe Marshall is also on board with that.
And to Mrs. Gould's point, I think City Hall would look great out at Frisco Square. It'd be a nice civic center. But with the demographics, with the sizing, and with what we were shown, I still lean towards Frisco Square, but Oakwood being the
I
demographic center.
understand where you're
yeah.
coming from, and I understand Oakwood, but I still say that we ought to appreciate what happened a few years ago, and at least consider what happened then, and the fact that we got that property for absolutely nothing, and now if we had to spend $5 million to do something out there, do it, instead of doing it in Oakwood, and put all the businesses in the same spot.
I was going to agree with you.
Well, I appreciate somebody agreeing.
But you know, again, looking at the demographics and just the
I
room to grow.
understand your demographic
If we
thing.
have to buy more property for growth out of Frisco Square later, we're still buying property.
Go ahead and buy it now if you know it's gonna grow that big. Go ahead and spend the money that you would be spending in Oakwood, spend part of that money and purchase what you think you're gonna need. Purchase 4 more acres out there. There's plenty of acres out there to do it. And the price wouldn't be near what is up there. It might be now after it gets in the
It
paper.
is the price of OTC.
It might be now after it
It
gets in
already
the paper.
is. No, it was before it
They
was
saw
even in the papers.
OTC there and us there, and it's high.
There's not any cheap property anymore. If there was, we wouldn't want it.
We're blessed with incredibly low interest rates right now. We probably have a window of time through this election before things change drastically, because they won't want to affect that, but
No, and
that
I'd
probably
also
will
think that
affect money too.
during the Fed's recent pronouncements, when they tried to make some moves and saw the chaos across the globe, they pulled their horns back in. So I would not expect the Fed to be raising interest rates significantly.
At least
right
not through an
now.
election, they wouldn't want to
Certainly not during
affect
the
that.
silly season, no.
Yeah. I'll put my motion back out there for Oakwood.
Okay, your motion is to what?
The Oakwood location, to choose it.
Okay, I have a motion for the Oakwood location. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. This will be to put that on the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Any abstentions? Okay, that motion carries to 6-1-0. That is to add that location to the resolution. Now, we are still inside the resolution, with Oakwood being added to the resolution for the site. Additional discussion, questions, or comments? Mr. Quickenbeard?
I think we may have touched on it a little bit, but did we look at the value of this property at all, as far as either sale or lease?
I'm sorry, I may have missed your question, but
This, like, if we move out of here, obviously there would be
Oh,
some
this
monies
property.
if we
Oh,
could
I'm
either
sorry.
sell this.
we have not looked at that.
No, that has not been reviewed just yet. All we know is, based on feasibility study, how much it would cost us to rebuild here downtown, which would include moving staff and the customer, where the customers would come to.
What about appraisals? We have insurance on the building and things. Do we have an appraisal or anything like that?
Mr. Quickenbeard, let me clarify one piece of it too. We own the property out by the high school, so it's already within the city, as far as like owning.
No, I'm talking about this
I
building.
understand.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
Okay, gotcha.
So, we already own a piece of property that we don't own any money on at this current time. So if something changes, we own this property, if the council chooses to continue with the Oakwood site, we purchase the property, then we own the property as we do the other.
Sure.
It becomes part of the inventory that we have as
Is
well.
that by the high school?
What I'm looking at is an offset of
Yes, I
what,
understand.
so do we have an insurance, the insurance is covering this building and property, what do they value that at?
I'm unfamiliar with the exact value of that. You're 100% right. We have that for the building itself and contents. I just don't know the immediate answer to your question. I get that, though. But to the mayor's point, yes, we do own that land up there at MMZZ, and there is something to be said for that. Do we ultimately want to just hold on to it, or we could sell that as well? I mean,
That would be worth a fortune if we held on to it for a while.
Yep.
Well, and we've got to think about future growth with the high school too. It's
That's
already pretty loaded.
It's pretty busy out there.
Yes, it is. Go ahead, Mr. Chris.
So, is that committee that looked at the development of downtown still in play? Is there a plan for downtown development currently?
No, sir, that committee went off in 2009, roughly? Somewhere around 2008, 2009. That committee was started, I think Mayor Collins started that committee. And
I think we're on about 2 years after I came on council, so about 9 or 10 years, right?
Go ahead, Ms. Poole.
I was chairman for Downtown Merchants for several years, and I tell you what, it's not easy to get any of them to think about doing anything to their buildings or growing. And we'd have a meeting, and maybe we'd have 3 people instead of the whole group.
I guess where I'm going with that is I definitely see the as being great for the city. There's a lot of history here, and I just think it'd be worth exploring how
I agree with
make this, something to remember or develop. So as long as we, if this is ours and we still own it, if there's plans to look at it, I think that's great too. Just kind of curious about that.
Totally agree. Additional questions, comments, discussion? Good discussion tonight. Anything at all? In your package, you have resolution number 16-R-32 with the Oakwood site that has been voted on for it. That is the resolution in front of you. Any further additional questions, comments, discussions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? I have 1 abstention. Motion carries 6-0-1. Thank you very much. On to the next item. Oh, yes, Carl, go ahead.
Real quick, from a procedural standpoint, I'm going to probably recommend that you adopt sometime in your next April meeting, possibly a reimbursement resolution, because if you are expecting to expend money and want to be reimbursed from a future bond issue, then from a tax law standpoint, you'll be covered and be able to do that. So you can ask Gilmore and Bell to prepare that. So I thought I would at least...
Thank you.
So it wouldn't be a surprise to you if it shows up as a resolution item.
And counsel, just for your information, Mr. Ramey would not have brought that forward if it wasn't the Oakwood site that we're actually purchasing. So
That's correct.
So just to give you a heads up on that. All right, on to the next item. Resolution number 16-R-33, a resolution of the City Council of the Republic of Missouri authorizing the execution of a program to provide equity and service delivery to the disabled citizens of the city in accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 and ADA Amendments Act of 2008. I'd like to have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Welcome back, Mr. Campbell. Please give us the overview, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution is fairly short and sweet. Basically, what it says is that the council has chosen to publish the public announcement, or what's called a public notice, of its intention to recognize those requirements under the ADA. It's the way of publishing those procedures that are laid out in the grievance procedure and known as our request for reasonable accommodation. This is one of those 5 administrative requirements under the ADA, and it's basically the one that's going to be kicking everything off, so to speak.
Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Kendall? Anything at all?
When does this take effect?
Does this take effect?
After we vote on it?
Yes,
If you vote on it, that's fine, it takes effect. If you want me to, you tell me.
There's a lot of responsibilities in here.
There is a lot of responsibility. You are correct, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Additional questions, comments, discussion? Anything at all? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Kendall, appreciate it. On the next item, resolution number 16-R-34, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, awarding the bid for the production of a fireworks show at the City of Republic's 20th annual Have a Blast Patriotic Celebration scheduled for July 1st, 2016 at J.R. Martin Park. Would like to have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Welcome, Mr. Keeling. Please give us the overview, sir.
Certainly. As you may have remembered, for really the last couple of years, AM Pyrotech, since I've been here, AM Pyrotechnics has done a show. We've really struggled getting competitive bids. I don't know why, but we reached out to 3 total firms this year, pyrotechnic companies, to try to get a bid. We were really thinking one additional to A&M would bid, but they ended up not bidding. With all that said, we've been very pleased with AM Pyrotechnics product, with the exception of one year, and they got that corrected. But they submitted a bid for our 20th anniversary show to be held on July 1st in the amount of $14,905.89. I do want to speak to, at our request, we are requesting more of a high aerial show this year. Due to large mature trees in J.R. Martin Park, we've received quite a number of complaints over the years that you can't see a lot of the low-flying stuff. So really excited about it. Aaron with AM Pyro has been out at our location at least 3 times this year alone. We've really tried to nail down what we want exactly in our show. So we're going to start really with a minimum of almost a 3-inch shell, and everything is going to be high in the air. I do want to say, you'll notice this number has gone up a little bit from our previous shows. We did that, of course, in honor of our 20th annual anniversary. Along with this show, getting members only, we're doing everything we can to make that event as memorable as possible this year for the 20th annual. My recommendation would definitely be to go with Aaron and AM Pyrotechnics. I think they'll do a good job for us.
Thank you. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Keeling? Anything at all?
You plan on having the mayor sing at this one, being it's the 20th?
Let me answer that question for you. No.
We do want people to come.
I want to go back to, you did use the word memorable, and that was
There you go.
Totally kidding, of course.
Man.
Word memorable is rather subjective.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, appreciate that.
This will be my first Have a Blast.
Wow, you're going to have a blast.
You have a blast.
It's going to be memorable.
But the mayor's not singing.
But I could. Any other questions, comments, or pertinent discussion? Being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Mr. Harder, it's well noted. Resolution number 16-R-35, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, selecting the design for a new city flag. Would like to have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Keeling, give us the overview, sir.
Certainly. As you may recall, roughly 2009, the city went forward with a new branding process that included a new logo they put all on our city trucks, city welcoming signs, all of our letterhead, stationery, website, etc. At that time, we were going to go ahead and present a new city flag, but it was discovered that we had a large inventory of our old flag, and it is now 2016, and we are finally through that inventory. So, we're
Bargaining
gonna
bolt.
set to run out in June or July. So what's here for you tonight is 5 proposals for a new city flag, or you can opt to keep the one we have. It's totally up to your discretion. I will say we had around 20, 25 out there. We trimmed them down to 5. With all this said, though, this is a work in progress. If you don't like one of those 5, that's totally fine. We can change a few things up as well. That's totally up to your discretion.
As in the other exhibits, this is one that will require a motion to, for a particular option, and that will require a second and a vote. So just giving you that heads up as we move along. So, questions, comments, discussion, Mr. Harder?
Well, I'm gonna make a motion right off the bat, so we take option 3, we'll get this started.
So I have a motion to take option 3. Do I have a second?
Option 3's out.
Do I have a second? No, it's not out. Do I have a second? That motion dies, but here's why, Mr. Harder. You did not give them enough time to discuss it. It could be that option 3 is correct, but you didn't give an opportunity. All right, go ahead, Ms. Poole, go ahead.
I'd like to see us keep the one we have for lots of reasons. It represents a real battle that a lot of our new people have no idea what we went through to even be where we are with it. And we have it. I don't see a reason. I don't see why it has to match this logo for the city trucks and et cetera. I just think that we've already got this. We've had it for a long time, and there's a lot of people that know what it looks like, and then there's a lot of people that don't. And even, I just know that unless you lived in the Republic and went through the battle with ACLU, you'd have no idea what we went through to get this far with that flag. And I'd like to see us keep that flag. Just not because I'm old and set in my ways. It's because I think we ought to look to some history down line and say, well, tell my grandson how we got that flag. And there's not much to this, and no disrespect for Jared figuring this out. I just think that I have a point.
Yes, ma'am, you do. Mr. Wilson, go ahead.
As far as these flags go, my preference would be the number 5. I'll make the motion.
You don't want to do that, Gary.
I don't see anybody else talking.
Wes Fork, our former council member, sitting in the back enjoying this conversation and watching.
This is gonna be like that downtown sign, 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah, here we go. All right, Ms. Wilson, do you want to make that motion for number 5?
Sure.
Okay, you've made the motion for number, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor for number 5, option number 5, put that on the resolution. Say aye.
Aye.
Was that 3? Wait a minute. Hands. Hands. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 4. Opposed, no?
No.
No.
4-3, that thing passes.
I have a suggestion or something, I'm not sure what it is.
Okay, it's on the resolution now, so that, option 5 is actually listed in section 1.
But more options can be added to the resolution.
potentially, or you could there's a couple different ways you can do it. Right now, option number 5 has passed. It is on the resolution. So now you're talking about resolution as it is with number 5 design on it. If a vote is taken on resolution 16-R-35 with number 5 on it and it does not pass, then we go back to square one. That's the procedural, correct?
We could amend it again before we vote on it.
Yes, you could do that too.
Or unless someone who voted for it moves to reconsider.
That's the other option. Now, where we are, questions, comments, discussion. Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I move to reconsider.
I second that.
Hold on, I have.
You like number 3 without.
So I have a motion and a second to reconsider, so now I gotta take that.
Just a simple vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hands, aye.
This is to
This
reconsider.
is to reconsider, reconsider.
You're putting it back to where you were with
Okay,
none.
so we want to reconsider.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have, all in favor, say aye.
We're
Raise
having
your
buyer's
hands.
remorse.
One,
To
two,
reconsider.
three, 4, 5. Oh my gosh. Opposed,
Sorry,
no.
buddy.
Solidarity. Okay. Motion has passed to reconsider. We are back to square one. Now, Mr. Jones, you have a comment.
I completely agree with Ms. Poole on the significance of what that flag symbolizes. Not only what it has done is created a lot of good conversation, even with newer Republic residents, as to what it means and why it is the way that it is. My question is, can the most significant portion of that flag be also incorporated in something new here? I understand branding, and believe me, I do. I understand marketing and how that works, and this is a complete separation and segregation from that. But I understand that as well.
I like that idea. I like
To somehow
I like
tie
the history.
that center.
Okay,
Can you
why don't
hold that one out?
Here's an option. I'm just gonna throw this out. You can take what it's worth. What you could do is if you wanted to change, you could change the color and you could change whatever. You could take this, our logo, and put it where the blank spot is. Possibly change this. Our motto is growing together. You could change that
I would think that would be
and
fair.
go that route.
I've never liked.
Everybody understand where I'm coming from?
Could we
Okay.
put as an option in the
Visual.
table and have some
Visual.
more options brought back?
Take this R that we have, put the R in here, right?
I like the fact that the white space is
Yeah.
the white
Yeah.
space.
You
I
gotta
think we
have the
want
white
to leave the
space.
white space,
Okay.
but
Okay.
could we change the way maybe the Republic and, you're talking about like taking that center and
Taking
incorporating
that
it
and
into
incorporating
the,
it somehow.
Right.
You could write Republic like we do with our logo, and use
And
the
then
R,
use our
and
slogan
Republic is the
together.
R, and have the Republic actually be the
we could
logo.
almost even change the other colors and keep the center.
Yeah,
Kinda
I
look-
mean,
I don't know if we want orange, but.
let's be honest, the most significant part of that is the bottom of the color.
Yeah.
Can we
That's
have
the
It's
part
the
that I
empty
think
spot,
needs to be
yeah.
part of it.
other ideas brought back from this table with some of these ideas that council
I
has?
would suggest this, if that's the move council's making, or Mr. Wilson, I'll get to Mr. Mendez. If that's what you're after, and let me finish before you say anything, because I'm gonna go to Mr. Wilson, I'm gonna go to Mr. Mendez, and I'll come back to you, Mr. Cook. If that's what you're after, then my suggestion would be, if you wanna go that route, then
You gonna draw us a
table it
picture?
till the next
I
meeting.
am.
The
That'd be
ideas
terrible,
would have
too.
to be funneled to Jared and Brenda, and drawings like this, somehow, some way, for options as well, because what we potentially could get into is 10 different options, and nobody agrees on anything. And there were 20 different original flag designs on this. I know 9 of them were mine. I've been working on this, this is no joke, I've been thinking about this and working on this for 3 or 4 years now, just coming up with different designs and things. So, if that's the route you want to take, you're just gonna have to make sure that you come back with a feasible looking design with its, get the logo from Brenda, do whatever you need to do. Now, with that said, Mr. Wilson, and then I'm gonna go to Mr. Mendez, and then I'll come back to you, Mr. Quinker. Go ahead.
Okay, as I said, on this here, of the flags here, number 5 is the one I like the best. Now, having said that, if you, on number 5, if you take the R, move that R to the left, and take the oval out of that, and put it over on the right.
Instead of having it in the middle,
Yeah,
move it to the right and the R on the left.
that would be one suggestion.
Okay. I would suggest putting that on paper somehow, some way.
I think we can definitely do it. We've got people that are really graphically gifted. I just want to make sure for clarity purposes, the only thing we want to possibly pull out of the old flag is the oval.
As I'm hearing it, that's what I
To me,
understand.
it seems to be the most significant portion
And,
of that, from a history standpoint.
Perfect. And then are you sold on the colors inside of the oval?
That would be fine as far as I'm.
Because the only thing I'm getting at is you've got orange and black and whatever, and you
Yeah.
might make for a thing that's all over the board.
Well, all of these seem to have orange on the bottom of them. That
Match
particular
logo
color
color.
don't seem
Right,
to
that's what I'm
go
thinking.
very
If
good.
you're a little, if you can give a little bit on the red, blue, and green, we might be able to work out something that looks pretty graphically pleasing.
And, yeah, we need to match the logos, I think.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that at all, and I don't know what the significance of the other colors necessarily would be, or if why they were put in those quadrants.
Sure.
Absolutely.
That, incorporating that logo that's there in the center seems to be an important factor, whether it's, in a top corner or right or left or whatever. That could be shifted around easily and given some options.
Okay. Mr. Mendez?
You addressed it. This discussion, we've addressed my questions.
Okay.
It was the oval and how you would put it on there
Okay.
and the colors.
Fantastic. Mr. Jones? I have one question. Are there JPEGs available of the current flag and proposed flag?
Absolutely. We can get that to you.
I have some really top-notch designers that work for me. Please do, Ms. Poole.
Could you not use, put growing together where we've got growing with the Ozarks, and then leave the oval in the middle, and do your do this one as your main R for the Republic.
I think that's.
R,
She was saying what I'm saying, the Republic across the top, you basically changed to our new logo, the way it's written, with the new,
Yeah,
with the new
kinda
bar,
like Kathy.
and the new font and all that, and then you have to change the color to obviously match.
Definitely would
I don't,
welcome more
I don't wanna,
pin marks.
I don't wanna change,
whatever
I
it
don't wanna
might be.
change anything in
But if
this.
you can get those to us, we can get them to our graphic people, or if you've got graphic
But
people,
you
get them to us, and that way we
this
can.
R, you did a good job drawing that, put it right there.
Sure.
See what I mean? And it would involve both of them, and put growing together down at the bottom.
If you forward that artwork
Kathy's
to
a
me
pretty
too,
good
I'm gonna
artist. No, I'm
to at least mock it up a little for you.
No, I'm not. I'm pretty pitiful.
I got it going, didn't I?
Let me have that.
Troublemaker.
Further questions, comments,
Decided to do
discussion?
this up here, like I was talking.
We need to, if
Make
we want that,
motion to
We could
table
use
this.
the same,
Yeah, we
we
need
don't
a
have to
motion. We
use
get new
orange. Is there a
designs
reason we need to
presented
use
by
orange? We
council.
do tiger stuff all the time. Everything doesn't have to be done for tigers.
Mr. Harder?
And I don't have,
A motion
I don't have
table
kids
this.
in school, so.
pending
New design.
new designs from council.
I'll
To
second
what
that,
date? Hold on, to what date?
till they have those designs
The
ready.
next council meeting. To the
Show
next
Mayor what
council
you're
meeting.
We're putting a date on it.
The next
I'll
council
let it,
meeting.
I'll let it.
April
11.
11th.
They're on the clock.
We can get
I got
April
a
11th.
second that.
Everybody understand that the motion is
It's what?
table to April 11th, as long as council
I'll
gets
second that
JPEGs
motion.
by day after tomorrow.
we'll get it.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I said it already.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor to table to April 11th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? A unanimous vote, 7-0.
Something to look forward to in the next meeting.
Yes.
Personally, I like her flag, but I agree that it needs to
He's
have.
a little, sprucing up.
At this particular time, that ends our public items on the agenda. Would like to motion to go into executive session under RSMO 610.021.1.
Motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.